All right, let's get some questions.
What do you got?
This first one was sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Rice in Wales, United Kingdom. What are your thoughts on the rumors that Roman Reigns' Tribal Chief run is leading to a match against The Rock at WrestleMania? How do you feel more generally about bringing back stars from the past for these short runs? I know that die-hard wrestling fans have been very against it over the last couple of years, particularly with Goldberg, but also to a lesser extent with The Rock's run back in 2012 and 2013.
Oh, horse shit. If The Rock showed up at a wrestling event in 2021, every single person that could fucking get to it or watch it or track it down or buy the video or camp out in the parking lot and masturbate until they got to see him in person would do so. This is one of the biggest fucking stars in the world and the biggest mainstream star that pro wrestling has ever created. And everybody would cream themselves and it would be a great match because he wouldn't do anything that he couldn't do. He wouldn't commit to doing anything that he wasn't sure that he was fully capable of doing. He would be motivated beyond measure to put fucking Roman Reigns over, and I'm pretty sure that would be the only finish that he would agree to. He wouldn't come back to beat the guy. And that would probably be the biggest match they could ever fucking have. Who could possibly find fault with having Roman Reigns versus The Rock at WrestleMania?
Usually the guys who find fault with that are the other guys on the card who don't understand that it's a benefit to them to have someone of that level of star back with the group for a short period of time even, because of the attention it'll bring. Instead, they're upset because they're stealing a spot from someone else who's a regular all year round.
Well, but actually, it's not a benefit to them anymore. It used to be a benefit when they sold tickets and pay-per-views, because then if you were in the middle of a card that was on pay-per-view and had 1 million buys, you made more than if you were in the main event of a fucking show that did 200,000 buys, whatever the fuck. The point is, now that the network has come along and cannibalized everybody's royalties for video, and there is no such thing as pay-per-view anymore, so I guess basically they just get paid on the video game and whatever the fuck. It's not really a financial benefit to have a big star in the main event anymore because the guys are just getting paid whatever the fuck they get paid. So that's another reason why modern wrestling's economics sucks compared to the old days, because back then you had incentive. However, having said that, you're still a complete fucking idiot if you don't want to be on The Rock's card rather than the main event of your own. You're a fucking moron. Because, yes, there will be a lot of attention and maybe some more people will see you. But the thing is, if you're in the main event and it draws, then you look like shit. But if you're on the card and The Rock draws, we know that, then, you know, it may look good for you. I don't know. The point is, any sane wrestling promoter and any sane wrestling fan would want The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania or at any other show, because any other show that it was booked on would automatically become bigger than WrestleMania.
What do you think of the idea that potentially the booking could be leading towards that Tribal Chief battle at WrestleMania?
Well, I mean, you know, I don't think that they're specifically leading to that one thing, because there would, obviously, if they can't get Rock to do it, whether it's an insurance thing with his movies or whatever the case, he got hurt before the one time, and movie studios are cautious about that type of thing. If he is in between any commitments where he can do that, then I'm sure he would be open to it. And we all know he keeps himself in good shape, even though ring shape is a different thing, but he could get there. I mean, this fucking guy, this type of guy that cures cancer on his lunch hour in his spare time. He's an overachiever. But I think Heyman is smart enough to realize that the whole Tribal Chief thing makes sense. And as we said, until they went sideways with the dramatic nature of the presentation, the fight they were having over it was good. That's something they can do anyway. And that's something that they can sell Roman Reigns as the Tribal Chief and the whole 9 yards and make the family involved. And then if The Rock was to come, that would be the the icing, the gravy, the whole 9 yards, but they would still be doing this anyway because it makes sense as a way to get this guy over as a badass and a heel. So it just because it's leading to that doesn't mean that's the only reason they're doing it, or that they know for a fact it's leading to that. This has the happy coincidence, probably because Happy Heyman, the jovial Jew, is involved, of being able, that would be just a little bonus, but it's still a good fucking piece of business they're doing.
Hey, what would you think about the idea of the Usos, of continuing the Uso Roman Reigns thing, where they have to get revenge, so they bring in the black sheep of the family, Jacob Fatu?
Well, actually, I guess at this point, I'm wondering if I just didn't fucking make up a gimmick for him that may be the truth, because everybody else in the whole family's employed in one place, and then he's over there in MLW. That's as soon as I saw this guy, I'm like, okay, I can't believe that somebody hasn't seized on this. And we mentioned that some of these guys have records with the government that prevent them from sometimes going to Canada or whatever. But let's face it, everybody has mistakes in their background or whatever. I would earnestly be looking for a way, while this guy's still around and his window is still open, to make some money with Jacob Fatu, because, like I said, all the Samoans can work and the whole family, but I see a bigger upside in Jacob Fatu as a monster beast, badass heel that becomes a babyface eventually than I do in the Usos, and I'm not trying to knock them, but they're a nice tag team and a couple of nice workers. This fucking guy is different, and you can make money with him because he creates chaos. He's got a fucking intensity when he's let go. That just the times I saw him at MLW, I was astonished that if Gary Hart could have retired on this fucking guy. Bobby Heenan, any great fucking manager. J.J. Dillon. I digress. Yeah, Jacob Fatu, that would be interesting. He'd get, but now see, here's the thing. You wouldn't put him in the Roman Reigns spot, because Jacob Fatu is an ugly badass, not a pretty badass. Roman Reigns is a pretty badass. He's good looking in a masculine badass way. He's got the movie star gimmick. Jacob Fatu looks like the guy that would be ripping your fucking carotid artery out in an alleyway somewhere. So you wouldn't use Jacob Fatu as a face of a company as they tried to with Roman Reigns as a babyface, or even now as a heel. You would use him as a monster like a Kamala, except he could be much more real life. You wouldn't obviously have him fucking eating raw fish and, talking island gibberish, but you would update the threat of the guy that speaks very little, has somebody pulling his strings, and is, as long as he does what he's supposed to do, he doesn't go back to fucking prison. You can make $1 million with this fucking guy. Is it surprising when I talk about the fact that just because one guy's great and the other guy's great, you would have to use them for two different things? Does anybody actually get that? None of the writers get it, but maybe the fans get it.
I don't know who gets what anymore.